Small and medium-sized businesses are the backbone of our economy.
Hi, welcome to the BackBone Small Business Podcast. I'm Dave Hatt, and we've been taking the time through this COVID-19 crisis to chat with small business owners and see how they're doing. And today, I'm speaking with Lisa Warren, and she and her family own a couple of hair salons in town. Lisa, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, considering all things.
Considering everything has gone, from busy to zero overnight with the hair salon business. And I mentioned your family owns a few hair salons. Maybe you could get into we're in the city of Victoria, and you are as well. And you guys are in shopping malls, which is one of the reasons why I definitely wanted to chat with you about how that's going. Maybe you could tell us a little bit about your company.
Right. So at one point we had 4 salons, but my dad is looking to retire for the most part. He's at his late 70s. And so gradually over the years, we've condensed our stores to the point where now we just have one store. It's located in Hillside Shopping Center in Victoria. So we have one sort of master salon. It's got all of our, top stylists that we've condensed from all the 4 salons into one, sort of epic, mega busy salon, and it's been doing fantastic. Obviously until we got the rug pulled from under us, and we were forced to shut down, which has been really tough. We had to lay off 13 staff members, 11 stylists, and 2 reception, who are all currently on EI, or on the CERB program now, I guess. And it's been hard. It's been really hard.
So with your staff, are you in a position where you have contractors working for you, or the stylists are members of your staff and you provide T4s and records of employment?
Yeah, so they're all employees. They get paid on a commission basis, but they're all they're not self-employed. So we pay their deductions on their behalf and all that kind of stuff. So luckily they were all able to qualify for EI, which was great. I don't think anybody's had any troubles qualifying. But of course, it's not as much as you would normally make. And same goes with our receptionists. They're both now on EI, and it's we're just waiting like everybody else to see how long this is going to go for. And so far it's not looking so good, really, from the way they're talking. So
no, it isn't. And in your industry, in particular, everybody's dying to get back to the salon. At least people with half decent hair are looking to get back. And the problem that I could foresee happening is that as long as we've got the social distancing in place, when we get back, as we ramp up into it, you might go from, like you said, 13 stylists to now 6, because you've got to accommodate for 6 feet in between. And if you're going from your styling chair to the sink, you've got to walk by other people. And how do you do that? And so it's going to be logistically challenging.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, interestingly, we were one of the last industries to have the social distancing put in place. Like restaurants went before we did. And during that time, we were obviously, had to completely ramp up our sanitation practices. We did reduce and sort of spread out scheduling during that time, because we were trying to maintain that social distance and give us time to be able to, sanitize between clients and things like that. And actually it was working very well. I think we did a very good job on doing that, but, now it's sort of like, well, in terms of social distancing, obviously we do work really closely with people. So what is that going to look like moving forward? How do you, we obviously can't maintain six feet of space between our clients. Does that mean that we have to start wearing masks or gloves, or require the client to do that? I mean, how far does it go? I don't know at this point.
Yeah, because it's what you do is a very tactile experience, right? You've got to grab people's hair. You're physically holding people, and you need that. I mean, if you had gloves on, it would completely change your experience as a stylist, wouldn't it?
Totally. I mean, half the time I don't even like wearing gloves for rinsing off colors because I can't gauge the temperature of water and that type of thing. Um, Completely. I mean, I would imagine like the hair would stick to the gloves a little bit and it would become annoying. And I don't know. I mean, there might be a learning curve to this, but I'm hoping best case scenario that with, us slowing down the curve and, getting to the point where, our we're reducing the spread of the virus, that maybe we can just continue to be very sanitized as we always have, and have those one-on-one experiences, and maybe just be careful with the clients that come in. Obviously, anyone that's sick or has traveled, not having taken those clients in, that type of thing. But I don't know. It's the biggest part of our job is having that one-on-one contact, that one-on-one those personal relationships with our clients are so important.
You got to be close to be able to shoot the shit too, right?
Totally. I mean, so many, especially clients that you've been doing for years, they become your friends, really. And it kind of helps the situation because you're sort of more comfortable with the person and they're more comfortable with you. And but now it's sort of like we live in this world where we're all standing in grocery stores 6 feet apart, and we're like, don't touch me, don't look at me, don't whatever. And I mean, that goes against everything that we do at the salon, right? So it's I can't imagine what this is going to look like, and I just hope we can get back to normal, whatever normal is going to be.
It's going to be a new normal. There's no doubt about that. And one of the things I wanted to chat with you about in particular, and so now that I hadn't realized actually you downsized just to one salon. When did that happen?
The very last downsize happened last summer. We were down to 2 stores, and we downsized to one. I think it was August of last year, which was great. I mean, it was. It allowed my dad to basically retire, which he needed to do. And, now that, my brother and I basically run the salon, and he doesn't have to worry about any stress and stuff like that. He still does like some banking and ordering and things like that. But really, I mean, he puts in like half an hour a day. It's great. And like I said, it's sort of become this mega salon because all of us have been working there for many years, and we were doing really well. It's been tough. It's been tough to go from this booming business to not even being open. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's a weird one too, right? Because now you've got all these people that are, we're all kind of evaluating what it is that we do. I mean, I've got the cleaner that I've relied on it to put food on my table for 13 years, and it's really doing next to nothing right now. So I don't know how long this is going to, if it goes on for any length of time, you can't incur that much debt, because then you won't be able to repay the debt if we get loans. But then once it ramps back up, ramps back up from 20% to 30% to 50% capacity, it definitely changes things, and it's changing how I'm looking at things. Certainly. I mean, obviously I'm doing this in the hopes that I can turn this into some kind of media network thing, and I'm working toward it, but it's launching a whole new business. I don't know what this is going to look like either. So I guess my point being, or that was in a very roundabout way, you've got these great stylists and fabulous receptionists, and are they even going to be available when the time comes for you to pick up the phone and ask them to come back? That's also an unknown.
Yeah, I mean, anything could happen at this point. I've heard suggestions that, talking about reducing how many clients are in the salon at one time. So that would be like you reducing how many, articles of clothing you take. Well, I mean, obviously that's going to affect your bottom line, because if you're not turning over as much as many, clients in my case, the salon itself won't be making enough money. I mean, our rent alone is $12,000. You got to make that every month, when we're paying rent, and, spacing out the clients is not going to cover that. Right. So that's not really an answer for us. So, we need to be running at full capacity in order to be able to afford paying our bills. So how does that look? Like if we're forced to do that, does that mean that we get a reduction in rent? And how does that look for the mall? Because they obviously have their own responsibilities. And there's a lot of unanswered questions at this point, right?
Yeah, no, it really is scary, and every business person with whom I've spoken has kind of said the same thing. There's, part of their brain can certainly picture that negative spin, going down that path of where really it could all hit the fan, and this could really be catastrophic.
Mm-hmm.
Most people choose to go the other path and say, well, maybe, but I can't take the time to think about what if in terms of a completely negative way. So I'm going to choose to think about it in a positive way and say, you know what, hey, if we got to work with, 30, 40, 50% capacity for a little bit, and the wheels get back on, and then we can ramp up, and then we can get going to the point where, hopefully, I don't know, 6 months, a year down the road, we're able to get to something close to 80 to 100% capacity, then I can handle that. But otherwise, it's just going that way is just too hard to think about it.
Well, it's uncharted territory, right? Like, we've never done this before. So, we don't know what that looks like. And I mean, I will say that if we are forced to work at, half capacity or quarter capacity, I mean, I hope the government has plans in order to, make up the other 50 or, 75% of what you're not making, because those bills come every month, as you know, and I know. And, how do you maintain that? So yeah, what do we do?
So now, when you were dealing with your landlord, you are leasing space inside of a traditional shopping mall where it's not, it's a mall. So in dealing with your landlord, how is that process? Because for myself, I deal with a family-owned company that owns this building. I've spoken with other people. As I mentioned, I spoke with Lisa Fina, who owns a hair salon in Toronto, and she has a major multinational that owns her building in downtown Toronto. I guess with a shopping center, you're probably in something similar position, correct?
Yes, yeah. I imagine the mall is owned by probably a group of investors, that type of thing. Who we deal with directly is the mall manager. I have to say they've been great. Towards the end, we were one of the last men standing in the mall, so to speak. And we were sort of like, oh, what's going on? Are we able to stay open? And, basically she said, nobody's told us to close, so we're staying open as long as, we can. They actually kind of said, really, it's up to you. We'll stay open as long as you want to stay open. And then, of course, the mandate came down that the personal services had to close, so we had no choice at that point. And then, so that was March. So we paid our rent for March, because of course you pay in the beginning of the month. For April, basically she just sort of said, don't worry about it for now, kind of thing. I mean, I don't know, nothing's free as far as I've checked. So, but for now, she said nothing, don't worry about it. We'll figure it out later, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, luckily we didn't have to pay the rent for April. Don't know how we would have done that if we did have to. And then as far as, the rest of it, obviously our the bills still kept coming, right? We still had, because we buy product, and not only for the services, but for retail, and those bills kept showing up. And, my dad did apply for the business like the $40,000 business loan in order to sort of get through that this time, in order to make sure that those bills, got paid, that type of thing. So we're good for now. But, again, moving forward, we're just waiting day by day to be basically told what to do.
Yeah, you can only kind of take it one day at a time, and this is it's a common theme. So is there anything that you would like to tell the government if you had an opportunity? Because I'm going to try and send these podcasts up the chain, to people, the powers that be, and say, this is what boots on the ground, this is what people are saying.
Well, I think that they have to realize that in order for a business to be able to keep their doors open, they have to meet, not only their payroll needs, but their, cost of business needs. And if they're going to ask us to not run at full capacity, they're going to have to assist us with that. Absolutely. And also, maybe even some startup assistance, right? Because take, for instance, a restaurant. I imagine, a lot of their food that they had stored got spoiled if, when they were forced to close their doors, that they had full kitchens, that, what were they going to do with that? But now they have to restock all their, their inventory. So that takes money, right? And they didn't make money from how many months before. So, startup costs of getting going again. We're a little different that way in the sense that we have, we're a service, so we get paid for what we do, but we still have, costs of like color and things. We'll have to restock our shelves, and we haven't made any money to be able to do that. So really, like, assistance to get going again, to get started again. I just think that they're going to really have to think about how do we get the small business, who we all know is the backbone of the community, to keep going and get going. And I really hope that we all survive this, because I have a feeling that not everybody will.
No, definitely not everybody will. I mean, it's, even if you, as you mentioned, the program, the small business loan program, that's now your company's taken on debt. And, it's, once you get back up and running, that at this stage of the game, that loan is expected to be repaid, at least 3/4 of it, depending on the timeline. So something that I've heard from different owners is that, the notion of not having rent deferred, but having the ability to give the mortgage companies the facilities where they can forgive rent for this period of time. So rent doesn't have to be collected from the landlords, who in turn don't have to collect it from the tenants. That's one thing. And the loans that they're giving, have them be not debt instruments, but have them be grant instruments. So like, here's the money, and you would think there'd be a way for them to track that. If, for instance, if your hair salon is open and filing taxes a year from now, then clearly it worked, and that money was used for the business operations. So maybe it's something where it moves into a forgivable grant, because that's something where you're contributing to the economy by providing jobs for people and paying your suppliers. So because you've done that, it's kind of a good faith. If they're saying we're all in this together, then really let's all be in this together, as opposed to saying, now as a small business owner, we'll bail you out, but you got to pay it back with interest.
Right. I mean, it is sort of like a backhanded assistance, isn't it? Because we're going to have to incur debt.
Well, you did. I mean, you did, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think the government and the banks ultimately need to do their part in eating some of these costs as well. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I see things from a few different sides, and I feel like a lot of people don't, I think our instincts is just to sort of live in the moment and figure out how we're paying our own personal bills and keeping food on the table and all that kind of stuff. But it's sort of hard to let your brain go to the long picture, isn't it? Like, what is that going to look like?
Yeah, because I agree with you. It gets very bleak very quickly when you start thinking about it, and you look at what's happening in the States where they've got the payroll protection plan or program in place, and they ran out of money for it. And some of the people in Congress are saying, and the senators are saying, we're not going to put any more money into it. So any business that didn't get on board right away, they're SOL. They're not going to get that money. Or if there's businesses that were in line, they're not even accepting applications. So at least we're in a different position up here. But I mean, it's a global thing. We're all tied together. So if it really goes sideways down south, which it already kind of has, and it's certainly careening down the hill, it's going to have a major impact on us, especially living in a tourist city, right? Where we count on our tourism in this town to drive the economy.
Yeah, I mean, best case scenario that, the government and the banks step up to help the businesses, and that, in turn, people in the community go out there and support the local business, get up back out there. And, I think we've given enough money to Walmart and Costco and all these, big corporations. Let's give our money to the small business. And I shop at Walmart, Costco too. What other choice do we have right now? But when we're all back and running, we really need to get out there and support each other. So important, because like I said, I think that a lot of people are going to either not start up again or just not be able to get their foot out the door. And a lot of it's going to depend on what are the restrictions going to be, especially in the service industry. If we're not able to run at full capacity, how do we continue to keep going? What is that going to look like?
Yeah, it's the big question. I mean, it is, because we deal with hotels and normally on a daily basis, and there are these weird ghost towns now where you've got two managers living in a 300 room building just to keep the insurance and the lights and the hydro and all these things flowing, the water flowing, literally, physically.
Yeah.
But they're talking now about not reopening until July, and that's 8 weeks away. And even at that, who's going to come visit them? We're driven by.
Right. We have no tourists coming, right? We're sort of shutting down our borders. And I mean, and it's that, like you said, it's the trickle down effect. So because they're not getting business, you're not getting business. And obviously you're not the only person that's being affected, the food industry, all of that. It's huge. It's almost mind blowing how big the trickle down effect is with all of this.
It is. It absolutely is. So let's shift gears for a quick second. Tell me something good that's happened of late. You've seen a cool video, or what are your kids doing? What's going on? Your kids must be the best well-kept kids in town because you brought your scissors home, clearly.
Yeah. Well, luckily, yeah. I mean, that's one thing that I can offer them is, keep their hair looking right. I have to say our school has been fantastic. They've gone online with their schooling, which, they're using the same sort of Zoom program, and it's not the same. Obviously, that one-on-one contact is always ideal, but, they're doing the best that they can. So, we're trying to just sort of maintain that, normal scheduling for them. Obviously being at home, there's a lot of distractions, so it's tough. I didn't really sign on for the stay at home homeschooling mom thing, but I'm doing the best that I can. It wasn't exactly my ideal gig, but and we're just trying to eat well and stay healthy, and obviously doing the home workouts and just trying to stay sane, right? Watch the news like everybody else and just hope for the green light sooner rather than later.
I try not to watch too much news. I mean, it's I'm doing this. I speak to people all the time, but holy man, you really could lose your mind if you just watch the news all the time.
Oh yeah. I mean, Sean and I think Dr. Henry is doing a really good job, but we call her report the doom report. What was the doom report today, right? How many people died? How many more people are sick? It's like you want to know, but it's depressing at the same time, right? I think BC is doing very well overall, but it's still sad to hear, somebody's lost their loved one or this many more people are sick, and you question, you know, what's real, what's not, as far as like, you know, the numbers and things like that. So, yeah, it's a challenge to keep your spirits up, isn't it? Like, and then
Yeah, it can be. I mean, that's why one of the reasons why I like doing this is chatting with people, just to kind of, you know, because we're all on the same thing. So it's one foot in front of the other, one day at a time. I mean, it's a, you know, worn out adage maybe, but it really holds true today. It really does.
Yeah. I mean, again, trying to keep that sort of sense of normal around here. Obviously, happy hour helps too. You know,
Sounds good.
Like, oh, it was a long day homeschooling, you know. But you know, what can you do? I'm really looking forward to getting back to work. I love my job. You know, I'm lucky to do something for a living that I absolutely love. You know, I'm in my 20th year of doing hair now, and I'm still here because I love it. And obviously I have a deep investment into it because it's a family business as well, but I truly do love what I do. I miss it. I've been trying to sort of help out friends with, you know, friends and clients with hair advice. And, you know, I mean, people are asking me like, how do I cut my husband's hair? Well, I can't, you know, have a 5-minute conversation on 20 years of experience. You know, it's like, well, you know, do your best, basically, right? We'll fix it later, basically. But
I'm hoping that it's sooner than later for you. I mean, for all of us, but yeah, I mean, it's you got to stay positive, and definitely, you know, I agree with you. Happy hour helps for sure.
Oh, it's like, you know, sometimes it's like, oh, it's only 4 o'clock. Is this happy hour yet? Yeah, no. I mean, you got to do what you can do to just get through it, right?
Yep.
And you know, again, hopefully they have a plan that we don't know about, you know, that's going to work.
It's evolving all the time, and I think that's why it's important to have these chats. And I'll definitely send this on up the chain as best I can. So
thank you, and I wish you guys the best of luck there. I know how hard you guys work, and you know, you're a perfect example of people that are, you know, a family, small business, and, you know, just doing the best you can. And I'm glad your doors are still open. You know, I'm happy for you, although I know you wish it was better, but
yeah, it is one day at a time, time.
Totally.
Well, thanks for your time, Lisa. I appreciate it. And hopefully we'll see you soon, eh?
Yep. You look like you might need it. Just kidding.
Okay, take care.
Okay,
all the best. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
They are the backbone of Toronto's economy and the country's economy, and their success when we restart our city will be key to restoring the strength of Canada's economic engine.